Now, ultimately, what I'd like to do over the next several classes is I think it would be cool to have a. So if you've looked towards the end of chapter 2, they have a simulator for typing in ARM stuff and practicing and that kind of stuff. I think it would be cool to write our own simulator as an Android application. So actually creating an ARM interpreter or an ARM assembler in Android, where you have your list of registers. So if you kind of look at how this would work, they're showing you have some lines of code and stuff here. So, add X1, X2, X3, add X4, blah, blah, blah. And you could put values into your registers here. So if we're thinking about it from resource perspective, we're going to have a collection of registers, and we're also going to have our system memory, okay, placed in system memory. So that's going to be one resource we're going to represent. We're going to have another resource we're representing in hardware registers. And then we're going to have some lines of code that are going to be our input. Now, initially, we would probably just have it working off like single inputs. Here's a line of code, do the stuff to show how it works, okay? And then maybe expanding it to allow multiple things. And if you look up here, these are the instructions that their little thing supports. We would probably support far fewer than that, kind of almost like a proof of concept of an assembly interpreter. So I think something like that would actually be kind of cool, personally, if we just kind of maybe reduce the number of total registers down to make it something more palatable. They say, you can show more registers here. So, so you do have all 32 registers, but you can choose to have less of them in yours, and you can also just give them, memory space. But I don't know. What are your feelings of writing a assembler in Android? Would that be kind of a cool project? Who's scared of it? See, I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think it just sounds worse than it is. So let's actually just start thinking about how this would work. And then maybe for next week, I'll give you just the very first little piece of it. So we'll kind of build it incrementally over several weeks instead of having like a giant nasty. That way we can continue to work our way through that section of the book. Because if you go back here in the book, you're going to see after we get through the instruction stuff. So we'll effectively through chapter 2. So we'll be on chapter 2 for the next, several weeks, working through this stuff. Those assignments will be expanding our Android application, because after we're done with that, then we start getting into fast math and that kind of stuff. So kind of more of the underlying stuff where, if we're doing addition in on Android, you just say plus, right? So you're going to read in two values. They might be represented as binary numbers or decimal numbers, however they want to represent them, and you add them together and spit the result back out. So you don't have to write fast multiplication and stuff for it. So you're really creating an interpreter for people to practice the ARM instruction set on an Android device.
So really, you write in the code, we press start on our application, and it outputs like the four things, like the add or load, add.
No, that would be the compiler side of it. I'm thinking more of, if I go back to this, probably version 1 of ours, you would be able to start your registers off. You can go in and put values in your registers if you wanted to,
okay.
And then maybe just run like this one line.
Okay.
And at the end of this one line, it would have added whatever's in X2 to whatever's in X3, storing the result in X1.
Okay.
Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so just mimic that.
Yeah, kind of mimic this, but initially just one line.
Okay.
And just, and then we'll expand it to do some other things. So we'll probably initially do one-liners, but get different magic tricks added. So we'll have add immediate, we'll have subtract immediate, so on and so forth, those kind of things, so that people can then practice those instructions But what we'll do is each week we'll add just a little bit to it. So that maybe over the next, let's call it 5 weeks or something like that, we maybe have kind of a cool little thing that maybe we could throw up on the App Store, something like that, and say this was this class or whatever. That sound kind of fun.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and I'll create a starting point for that. That way we can do some coding and stuff during class too, and not just theory stuff. All right, so I'll start a new Android project here. We're going to call this guy CSC548. This is spring 2018, and we're going to call this guy ARMSIM, something like that. All right, and I'll put this up on GitHub so you guys can fork it and then check it out. All right, I'll start with an empty activity. All right, and we're going to kind of make this relatively object-oriented if we can. So we want to maybe think initially about just our interface, like reading in from registers and that kind of stuff. So if we try to think about it maybe over here, we think about the components of this. We're going to have components are going to be code list, and I'll just say initially one line. So we'll just allow them to put one line of code in, but eventually we'll have it go through line by line. So we have a code list, we have a register list, and then we have a memory representation. Okay, so kind of 3 different things that we need to allow the user to manipulate. So somewhere on the screen we need them to be able to edit register stuff. Somewhere on the screen they need to be able to show memory stuff. And let's see, did they let them change memory here? So this is they've just created a base address for all of memory at 4,000 here. And if I do 1,000, oh no, so they mimic memory, they just only show you kind of a starting point for it. So they're probably showing memory addresses between some range. So I'm thinking we might want to split this between like 3 screens. Like maybe have one screen that has our code in it, another screen that has our registers in it, and then another screen that has the memory in it, so that we can kind of flip back and forth between the screens. So we can, if we want to put something into memory or put something in one of the registers, we would go to the register screen or go to the memory screen. We went back to the code screen, we said run, it would run it, then we could flip to the register screen and see the result, see what the state of the registers were after that, and that kind of stuff. I'm thinking that might be on a mobile app, the way it'll look the best. All right, so let's start building our basic interface for that. All right, so maybe on this main screen, we're going to go ahead and just give them buttons to go to the other 2 screens. Maybe this is where our code would live. So maybe this main activity is our code view. And then we'd have buttons to get them to the other screens. We could maybe do this as a tab thing, but let's just make it a simple layout. We can always upgrade it to a better looking layout later. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just do my usual vertical linear layout in here. And then I'm going to throw our couple of buttons in there now. We can always move them around later. So I'll throw a button there. I'll throw a button there. And we're going to call this guy registers. And we're going to call this guy RAM, something like that. And we want these 2 buttons to take us to screens that are going to be representations of those guys. Okay. So, good. I think code will be this screen. Do you want to do code on this screen? Or do you want to have a separate screen for code?
Would you want to have your registers first? Because that's what you need to enter in before you start writing your code.
But you don't have to enter in. You'll have default registers because your code, we could have loads and stuff like that. So I'm thinking our app has 3 screens. The default screen is code, and then you have buttons that take you to the other 2 screens, something like that. Yeah, and we'll just rate it. I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the interface. We'll spend more time on the functionality. So if you, especially, I guess, Shika, if you want to make a nice, pretty interface, you can go ahead. We can always upgrade it later. All right, so let's go ahead and make these buttons take us to the other screens. So I'm going to create a couple additional activities. So we'll create a new activity, and this guy will be an empty activity. And we're going to call this guy the register activity. Okay. And here is the activity register. Just for right now, I'm just going to throw a text view on here that says registers. Whatever, just so we know we're on that screen for testing. And then I'll create another activity. And we'll call this guy RAM activity. Activity. And just for the moment, we'll go ahead and throw that guy in there, and we'll just throw RAM. All right, so that says RAM. Whatever. Okay, so now we're going to go back to main activity, and we're going to create the couple of listeners to take us back to between those places. So we'll create a public void on register button clicked. This guy will take a view v as a parameter, and we'll go ahead. We're going to create an intent. I is equal to a new intent. And the intent is created with this guy here. And then actually, is it the syntax for an intent? We can give it context in the class. Okay, so we're going to say this, and then we're going to say register activity. I think it's class or dot class. So class dot register. Oh, killing me. Or another activity. Oh, it's class dot, lowercase. Class dot. It's not looking that either. I shouldn't have to do this. I thought I tried that.
It was just capitalized.
Okay, there we go. All right, and then we'll say this dot start activity and we'll pass it that intent. I'll create another one of these guys, and this is going to be on RAM button clicked, and this will go to our RAM activity class. Okay, now let's go hook those dudes up. So for registers, his on click is going to be on registers button clicked. For RAM, His on click will be on RAM button clicked. All right, so now these should take us to those other pages. Running an x86 based Android virtual device is 10 times faster. Is that something new?
It's not pixel anymore.
Oh, I clicked the wrong thing.
It's ARM7.
Thank you. All right, so that's my register screen. Hit back. That's my RAM screen. Okay, so now our registers, we actually have 32 registers, right? So X0 through X31. All right, so how might we represent those on our screen? So if we kind of just start thinking about it here, we can do something like if I go to my register screen, I'm going to go ahead and take out that guy, and I'll put my vertical linear layout in here, like I like. So maybe what we have is we have, if we're thinking that there's 32 registers, and I mean, do we want to represent all 32? Do we want to have a subset of 32? I mean, we're writing small little things here, right? So we probably don't need all 32 registers. Do we maybe show 8 registers? Something like that. We could always expand it later if we decide we want to, right? Yeah, right. For the pro version, right? So I'm thinking maybe what we do is we create a horizontal linear layout in here. And in that horizontal linear layout, we go ahead and put a few text views. Okay, and maybe this first text view will be X0. The second one will be X1. Third one will be X2. And then we actually maybe do 4 in one line. All right, and this would be X3. Okay, we'll highlight all those. We'll center the text or whatever. All right, so that's that linear layout there. And then we're going to put another horizontal linear layout underneath that with edit texts in it, numeric edit text. So I'll go ahead and we will create another horizontal linear layout. One inside. There we go. And we're going to have this first one, that's already right. So the second one, we're going to have some buttons in there. Or, I'm sorry, some edit texts. So we'll do a number. We probably want it to be a signed number. They're probably going to put in decimal values for testing. All right, so there's 4 of those. Now we need to have the height wrap content. We have to have the height wrap content. Okay. So now we have those guys, and maybe initially they're all holding a value of 0. And maybe center that. Looks reasonable for our registers. Okay. And this guy is probably X0 ET. We'll use a capital X. And I'll steal this. This is X1 ET. X2 ET. X3 ET. Okay, so that's 4 of our edit texts. You think?
If you have some bigger number.
Yeah, but how big of a number are you going to put in there? I mean, if we go in here and I put I think it'll be okay. We could always mess with it later. So actually, it looks like we'll be able to fit more than 8 registers. So if we use this as our starting point, so now we'll do, I'm going to steal these 2 things. Then I'm going to create copies of those. Doesn't like me doing it there, so I guess I'm going to have to do it in here. So here's my horizontal linear layout with my text views. All right, so that is my first row of registers. So that's 0 through 3. This would be 4 through 7. Let's see what that looks like. We have to fix the names there, but we'll do that. Why is that guy so big? Oh, I bet you is it these edit texts? Or is it the text views? Oh, I wonder if it's because.
I think you can manage just click on the linear layout and it shows the whenever you put your mouse over it shows the little dot with the green on the blue line.
Oh, yeah, here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to do that. I tried to resize it.
No, make it green.
Here, let me fix these names here. So this is text view. See, this is kind of the problem of copying the stuff in like that. So let me dump that. And we will just put in, copy this guy. Can I drag another one in? It doesn't like that either. All right, well, we'll just be explicit then. So we'll drag another horizontal one here. And then we'll put 4 text views in there. And this guy's height will be wrap content. Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting how the vertical linear layout ends up I wonder if that's because I have it inside of a constraint layout.
Well, couldn't you wrap the content
I'm surprised that worked like that. Huh. It worked, it worked. All right, so we have that. So this is going to be X4, X5, X6, X7. We'll highlight all those guys. We'll center them there. Then we'll create another horizontal linear layout. And we'll drop some signed number edit text in there. Okay. And we'll call this guy X3 or X4 ET. X5 ET. X6 ET. X7 ET. And then we'll go ahead and put initially zeros in all those guys and centered. Okay. And then if we want to, we can probably take all of our text views and maybe make the font a little bit bigger. And maybe bold it. And same thing here. Take the font a little bit bigger. Bold it. All right, looks reasonable.
I buy it.
Okay, that only gives us 8 registers, but that's probably enough. We've given ourselves plenty of room to add more registers, right? Okay. Then back here on activity main, we'll go ahead and give ourselves our code section, right? So we'll put in a plain text. And this is going to be called input ET. And we'll say enter ARM code. Oop. Actually, I'm going to change the input type here to just text. That way it doesn't try to automatically capitalize stuff. All right, so we'll enter in some ARM code there. And then we'll give ourselves a button maybe called run. And then in main activity, we'll go ahead and add a public void on run button clicked UV. All right, and let's just make sure this is working for a second. Come back into activity main, click on this, click on click, on run button clicked. Let's just test this and make sure that that button is working, and then I'll put in the comment there what the assignment should be. So I'll hit run a couple of times, go to logcat. It's working, so that button's working. All right, so what we'll do for next week which is probably going to be a little bit more tedious than hard. So support 2 instructions. Add and add immediate. All right. So add assumes 2 registers. Add immediate assumes 1 register and 1 numeric literal. Okay? So the idea here would be is that when you ran this app, you would first click on registers, you would put in your values for your registers. Maybe there would be a save button over here to save the current state of your registers so they get saved somewhere. All right? Then, when you came back here, you would type in your code, you'd hit run, and maybe it shows the, actually it wouldn't show anything, it's just going to change the value of your registers. So after you hit run, it'll finish running. You can maybe do a toast or something that says it ran or whatever. You don't have to, just it runs. Then you would be able to go back to registers and see the changes that were made as a result of you running that. That makes sense? One thing I'll give you just a little hint that will make your life a little easier. Getting information between screens. I'm going to go ahead and give you something called a singleton. I don't like their implementation of a singleton, so I'm going to create my own. I think I did this before when we created the thing in class, did I? I have something called core. I like to create a class called core. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, I'll just give you a starting point for this. We're going to say static. I'll just make them strings for right now since that's how they're going to be read in. X0. And maybe this guy starts off as a 0. So then what you would do inside of, I'll just show you the quick example. If I'm over here in register activity, and I want that guy to be, I would say core.x0 is equal to a 2, for example. All right, so that will save it up in core so that when you come back here to activity main and want to run it, you can get access to that value. Core.x0, like that. So that will allow you to easily save from the register screen. So you'll go through all the 8 registers and save X0, X1, X2 up into core, so that when you come back to this screen, when you need the value that's an X0 or the value that's an X1, you could just say core.x0. That'll give you that value. Make sense? It makes it very convenient to get information between 2 pages because they both can access that same global variable called a singleton. All right, so I will go ahead and import this into version control. And remember, the way you want to do this is the first thing you should do is you should fork the project and then check it out from your GitHub account, right? Don't check mine out because you won't be able to push the result back. Okay, make sure it goes. All right, it's up there. Copy it, and I'll put the assignment up on Blackboard, and I will see everybody next Wednesday. Just real quick, I need to look at the calendar real quick.
Next Wednesday, I think we don't have class.
No, what next Wednesday we do? Next Wednesday is the 7th, so we have class then. 2 Wednesdays from now, so the 14th, no class.
Thursday.
Wait, whatever, Thursday. We have class next Thursday. Yeah, this is Thursday night. We have class next Thursday, but the Thursday after that on the 15th, no class. I will be in Arkansas golfing.
And what about 29th?
29th? What's the 29th?
Easter.
Oh, well, yeah, we won't have class during Easter break. Because I think, actually, we wouldn't anyways, because I'm pretty sure It's any classes that start after 4 p.m. don't meet.
Yeah.
So we'll be off the 29th too. But also, what I'll do is I'll give you a double hard assignment over Easter.